Now let us look at another important recent trend, that is benchmarking. We need to know what is benchmarking. Benchmarking refers to the act of comparing a company with world-class performance and competitors involved in similar functions and operations. It is important to do benchmarking every few years, since world-class performance and competitors, they change dynamically, they change with respect to time. So benchmarking should be done after every 4 or 5 years. Now, look at this diagram. We need to know what is our company performance and how does our process work. And this goes in junction with what are the performance level of other companies and what are their processes. So we should know what is our performance. We should know how does our process actually work. What are the SOPs of our process? And what are the performance levels for the other companies, the world-class companies, and what are their processes? Then it will actually tell you the comparison, or the comparative analytics will actually tell you the gap between your organization or company and the companies which are world-class in those activities. And after analyzing the gap, you will come to new process and breakthrough performances. We must keep one thing in mind. There is a difference between benchmarking and re-engineering. Benchmarking is something in which you acquire the characteristics of the world-class competitors or companies. But it might be possible that all of those characteristics, you do not inherit them. You do not accept all of those benchmarks. We may be looking at some of the benchmarks of some specific company. But in re-engineering, which is very specifically used for a product re-engineering, the product is made through reverse engineering. The product is made through reverse engineering in exact the same fashion. Except for that, the company who is reverse engineering that product, they do not perform R&D for that product. What they do, they analyze the product or that function to the minute detail and just reproduce it. So the characteristics of that product or that function or that service would be the same, except that no R&D was performed by the company who was reverse engineering that product. So benchmarking is something in which you acquire different characteristics. You can have different characteristics from the world-class performer. But in reverse engineering, the product would be exactly the same. It may be possible that the company who has reverse engineered that product, they might be using some different material, but the characteristics or the functionality of the product would remain the same. Benchmarking also helps an organization to identify and learn the best practices in the world for a process or a function. Actually, benchmarking provides an organization with the exposure which they need, or the knowledge about different type of practices which are being performed by the world-class performers around the world. Benchmarking can be very useful to evaluate a company's strategy, operating plans, and processes. So if you have benchmarked, you are bound to change your operating plans, you are bound to change your processes or modify your processes, and eventually your company strategies would also be modified because of that benchmarking. Thank you.